Series 200, Chapter 200.27, Using a or an. Text English, Spoken English. How to use a or an. Goals of learning for using a or an. What are a and an? Where to use a, where to use an. Exceptions while using a or an. A and an and adjectives and summary. Let's first see what are a and an. The words a and an are called the articles. There are three articles, a, an, and the third article is called the, also pronounced as the. We will talk about the third article called the or the in another presentation. In this presentation we will only talk about a and an, where to use those articles. A and an are called indefinite articles, and the, also pronounced as the, is called a definite article. In the next few minutes we will see what is an indefinite article, why it is called an indefinite article. Since a and an and also the add to the information about a noun, some people consider the articles to be a type of adjective. When we will learn about adjectives, we will see that adjective is a word that describes a noun, adds more information to a noun. And since a, an and the add more information to the noun, they are considered to be a type of adjectives by some. Now the question is where to use a or an. A and an are mostly used with certain nouns. In the following chapter we will see that what are those nouns that a and an are used with. A and an can also be used with adjectives and noun phrases, but most of the times a and an are used with nouns. So to understand a and an better, we must first understand what are nouns. Now we have a full discussion, full presentation on nouns. We will only revise them quickly so as we know where to use a and where to use an. So by definition, nouns describe a place, person or thing. That is the first half of the definition. So when we say city, it's a place. When we say the word man, it's a person, it describes a person. When we say the word book, it describes a thing. So nouns describe a place, person or thing, and this is the first half of the definition. The second half of the definition for nouns is nouns can also describe an event a concept, a feeling, material, animal, quality or measure. This definition, second part, is equally important because if we only focus on the first part, we will miss on many of the nouns. So, meeting is an example of an event. Democracy is an example of a concept. Anger is an example of feeling. Oxygen is an example of material. Cat is an example of animal. Love is an example of quality. And inch is an example of measure. So it is very important to remember both the parts of the definition of noun, because we will be using a or a and n with all these various types of nouns. Some places we will use a, some places and, some places the, and to do that we must know all these various types of nouns. There are many ways to classify nouns, that nouns can be divided in many different ways, and one of the ways to separate different types of nouns are: the noun can be a count noun or a non-count noun. A count noun is a noun that can be counted. You can count 1 book, 10 books, 5 books, many books. That's the way to count. When you go through details about nouns in our presentation on nouns, you will see that count nouns can add numbers in front of them. They can be converted to plurals like books from book, houses from house, men from men, roads from road. So count nouns can make plural, they can take number in front of them, and they can take quantifiers like how much, say many books, a few books. So those are the which tells the quantity of that. So they can take quantifiers. So countable nouns, simple thing is, can be counted. You can add numbers in front of them, 5, 10, 15, 100, many, and they can be converted to plural. Here are examples of count nouns, like book is a count noun, house is a count noun, men is a count noun, road is a count noun. They can all take a number in front of them and they can all be converted to plural. Compared to that, non-count nouns cannot be counted. You cannot make plural of non-count nouns, and they don't take the quantifiers like many in front of them. So for example, water, sky, anger, democracy, electricity, they are all nouns, but they cannot be counted, they cannot be converted to a plural, so they are called non-count nouns. I hope the difference between a count noun and a non-count noun is clear to you. Now, count nouns can further be divided into singular or plural. Singular when we are talking about one of count noun, one book, one city, one school, one man, that is a singular form of the count noun. We saw that count nouns can be made into plural, like books, cities, schools and men are plural form of book, city, school and men. And why did we have to learn all this? Because a and n are used mostly with singular count nouns in an indefinite form. This is important, so I will repeat it. A and n are used mostly with singular count nouns. We have seen till now what are singular count nouns in an indefinite form. And what is an indefinite form? We will discuss in a few minutes. So the summary about nouns is that nouns describe a place, person or thing, an event, an abstract concept, a measure, quality, material, animal, etc. They are all nouns. A noun can be a count noun when it can be countable, or a non-count noun. A count noun can have a singular or a plural form, and a and n are used before a count noun in a singular indefinite form. Just what we saw a moment ago, a and n are used before a countable noun in a singular indefinite form. And what does indefinite form mean? Indefinite form means that we are talking about the noun in general terms. For example, if I say I would like to have a book to read, here the noun book, when I am talking about that noun, I am talking about a book in general. I didn't mention I want to read this book or that book or which book. There's no reference to what book I want. So I am talking about the book in general terms. Any book, a book. So we use the article a before that. Book is a singular form of a countable noun, and because we are not specifying it, that's why we are using a before it. Another example, I would like to have an elephant as a pet. Now I did not tell which elephant I would like to have as a pet, just any elephant. And that's why, because it is an indefinite form, we are not telling definitely which elephant I want, so we will use n in front of the noun elephant. In the next few minutes we will see where to use a and where to use n, but these are both the indefinite articles and we use them before indefinite nouns when we are not specific about the noun. You will understand this difference better when you have gone through this presentation and the presentation on using the, and then you will clearly see what I mean by an indefinite form of noun and a definite form of noun. So, learning a little more about indefinite form of noun. When we are referring to a noun in general terms, when we want to refer to any of the objects or persons or places, or when we are referring to the noun in general, or when we are referring to the noun as one out of many, then it is called an indefinite form. So when I tell get me a book, means just get me a book, any book. I didn't mention which book. That is called an indefinite form of noun. When I am saying a book is a student's best friend, I am using the word book in general sense, in a general use. Not this book, not that book, not textbook, not storybook, but just a book, any book. So it is, the word book is being used in general terms. Another example, when I say reading a book increases a student's knowledge, I am just talking about a book out of many. So when we use the noun representing any of these three things, when we are using it to represent any, or we are representing the noun for general use, or we are using it for one of many, they are all indefinite forms of noun. So now let's see where to use a. One very important thing to remember is that use of a and n is dependent on the pronunciation of the word, not the spelling of the word, but the pronunciation, the word, the way the word is spoken. That is the main focus that decides whether we use a or n. English language has 26 alphabets, and you all know that they are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z or Z. Out of these 26 alphabets, 5 are called vowels and rest 21 are called consonants. So alphabets A, alphabet E, alphabet I, alphabet O and alphabet U are the vowels. Rest 21 alphabets are consonants, and as shown here, these consonants include B, C, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Y and Z or Z. Some people call it Z, some people call it Z. Again, it is not the way the word is spelled, but the way the word is spoken that decides whether to use a or n. And let's look at some examples. Again, the focus is not on spelling but on pronunciation. Here are some examples: a book, a cat, a dog, a fruit, a glass, a hen, a job, a king, a llama, a mother, a nun, a parrot, a road, a saint, a toy, a vice, a witch, a yak and a zebra. When we are pronouncing these words, book, cat, dog, fruit, glass, hen, the pronunciation does not start with A, E, I, O, U. The pronunciation for book starts with B, for cat starts with K, for dog starts with D, for fruit starts with F. So when you look at all these examples, none of them start with a pronunciation of A, E, I, O, U. So we use a in front of these nouns, because all these words are spoken starting with a consonant sound. Compared to that, when the pronunciation of noun starts with a vowel, we use N before the singular indefinite form, and we saw there are 5 vowels: A, E, I, O and U. Again, we are focusing on the pronunciation, the way the word is spoken. Now here are some examples. The first line is an apple or an egg. Apple, the pronunciation starts with a, apple. Egg, even though it starts with written E, the pronunciation starts as egg, egg, egg. Next line is where the pronunciation starts with E. An eel, eel is a type of fish. An anima, we are using a. Another example is an ink pot. Here the pronunciation starts with E, ink, ink, I. The next is an owl. So the pronunciation is starting with O, which is a vowel. And the last example here is an umbrella, where the pronunciation starts with a, umbrella. So when the pronunciation starts with A, E, I, O or U, then we use N, and we will look at variations of these in the next few minutes. Now let's talk about special cases when using N.